How do you make your dreams a reality? Has it been very challenging? Why? The Dream to Rise podcast was created to inspire individuals on their journeys of personal and professional growth. Recognizing the power of dreams and aspirations, this podcast aims to share authentic stories, valuable insights, and transformative strategies from a diverse range of guests. It serves as a platform for encouraging listeners to overcome obstacles, embrace their potential, and pursue their passions with purpose and determination, ultimately empowering them to turn their dreams into reality. Let us listen to our guests and learn from their story. Hello, welcome to our Dream to Rise, our podcast now, and we have a wonderful guest who used to be my client, and we've become friends. And she's now a divorce coach. She was in a state of wherein she was kind of having problems because she just had her divorce and didn't know how to go about it and what are the steps and the tools needed to overcome the fears, the limiting beliefs, the blockages that has been stopping her to move forward. And I'm so proud of her because imagine, despite the struggles, she was able to discover her purpose and now living her purpose. Even though she's working 8 hours a day, she still spend time to make her business grow. Without further ado, I would just like to introduce you to my dearest friend, Debbie Fourth Wigley. Debbie, welcome to our Dream to
Thank you.
Rise.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm so glad to be here and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Of course, same here, same here. And it's been a long time, right? That
Yes.
we have been together. I think, I don't know, is it 4 years of
I
four,
think it
five
is 4 years actually. Yes.
years? Yes. And we after the program, we try to get in touch with each other like once a month. And
Yeah,
then
we stayed
we
connected.
have decided, why won't we connect every week? So
Yeah.
that's the reason why we have created the Dream to Rise Inner Circle. And it's not only chatting, but trying to get value out of each one's experiences, insights, and wisdom, which they have gained during their long years here with their family, their life journey, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And it's an amazing community. I really love joining the community because you feel supported and encouraged as you grow and change as an individual, as well as I was building my business. It helps me stay focused and feel accountable to continue my growth.
I agree. And each one of us, we continue to learn. Me learning from you and learning from each other. We have our speakers, and it's great. We now consider ourselves as family. I'm so excited to let you share your story because, like what I've mentioned, the main reason why I created this podcast is because I want to inspire and empower the listeners that there is truly light at the end of the tunnel. We've gone through our adversities in life. You were able to rise up, evolve, and now doing what you're doing, impacting others. So to get the ball rolling, I would just like to ask you, can you tell us something about yourself that brought you to where you are right now?
Yeah. So about, I'd say 7 or 8 years ago, I went through a divorce of the person that I felt like was my soulmate at the time. And he had a tragic brain injury from an accident. And over the course of the last 7 years of our marriage, it was a challenge because his demeanor changed, the way he interacted changed. And so I felt like I tried to navigate it as best I could over that 7 year period. And at the end, I finally had to make the most difficult decision ever to end the marriage in order to keep myself and my kids safe. I know that it probably feels challenging for other people to go through challenges like that as well. But I finally had a chance to come out of that situation and then have to start navigating all the different feelings that come with that, like the guilt and regret and all the loss involved. So after I was able to come through that, I finally found tools and strategies that helped me manage those. And when that's kind of what I do with my clients now, I help them navigate that challenging time with the tools I use for myself, as well as helping them unprogram or reprogram the subconscious, which operates 95% of what we think, feel, and believe about the world around us, just from all of our upbringing. And so when I was able to identify what my core challenges were at that point, and then be able to start using the subconscious to get to the root of the hurt and challenge, I was able to start to shift those beliefs. And in order to come past a lot of the pain.
May I ask you, because you mentioned about what was the challenges, the struggles you've experienced with him during the time you were together, that
Oh, yes.
decide to really enough is enough?
It was emotional, constantly badgering questions, very controlling, wanting to know exactly where I was at every moment. Anytime I would have any kind of conversations with any person of a male, then
Really?
any male person, whether a friend or even his brothers, he would make something out of it that wasn't even there. So it was the belief that I was cheating when I wasn't cheating. And so the mistrust, I think, was probably the hardest, because when you have that trust with your partner for, let's say, 20 years, and then all of a sudden they no longer trust you, and it feels like this major betrayal because you felt like that you were able to have that communication with the partner. Everything was on the up and up, and they never questioned your loyalty. And then all of a sudden to have that ripped away because of the injury that caused, misbeliefs and different things that he was struggling with. And so I think the hardest thing for me was actually leaving, because I felt like, oh, eventually he'll get better. Eventually everything will go back to normal. And eventually I'll be able to have my previous partner back. But then over time, it just went the other way. The behaviors escalated. It became literally unsafe to be there. And it's not that he was a bad person. It was just he was dealing with the trauma of the brain injury. So I think that made it even more challenging to leave, because you don't want to leave your person when they're dealing with the struggle.
Yeah.
But then you can't stay in a situation where that other person could hurt you
Was he
physically.
physically abusing you?
I did it twice, but I
Oh,
always told myself before I ever got married that if a person ever laid hands on me, that I would leave. So the first time I came back, and the second time I was like, I'm not doing that again. So at that point, I did leave, mostly because of that. And at that point, you have this between caring for someone that you know is struggling and being able to stay safe yourself, which is a huge challenge, because realistically, women are taught to put the other person first.
mhm.
We're taught to always care for everyone around us.
Mhm.
But at some point, your emotional and physical safety have to be the priority in order to stay here in this earth and be able to move forward in your life and create a new chapter. So you're having to be able to cut off one aspect of what you really would love to see happen and then face that reality of that's not going to happen. So then I was able to find, when I did finally leave, it took a year or so at least to just get past that guilt that I couldn't be happy if he wasn't happy. I couldn't live a beautiful life if he was struggling. And being able to identify those beliefs around that was a huge catalyst for actually the change that came about after the fact. Because once I was able to start to see those beliefs and realize that those weren't necessarily true, me having a good life doesn't anything about who I am or what I as a human, or the fact that me having a good life and him being struggling still, it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. So being able to check those emotions and realize that there's thoughts running behind the emotions. It's like you're feeling the guilt, you're feeling the regret, you're feeling all these emotions. But behind all those emotions are beliefs around it that you make mean something about you as a person. So once you're able to start identifying those beliefs and start shifting those, then this huge weight is lifted from you as a person and realizing that it's okay to start over. Even though you really wish things could have gone differently, you had no control over that. I have no control over how the other person deals with their situation. I have no control over how anybody perceives me or how anybody thinks about. The only thing I have control over is myself and my thoughts and my beliefs and how I see the world. So when I was able to see that, that was my life-changing moment of realizing that your life doesn't have to end when you have a divorce. It doesn't have to be the end of the the life you know. It can be the beginning of a life you want to create.
Very true. But I would just like to ask, because
Of course.
I, when was that situation? How long did it take you to realize about the change of beliefs, that to believe in yourself and then to be free from that bondage of guilt? How long? Because like for me, it took me 6 years.
Yeah. It took me around five and a
Oh,
half years too.
oh, it's a long, long
It is a long time. And
time.
the thing that breaks my heart about it is if I had have known early on about the beliefs running the emotions and the beliefs being like the core of what was going on with me, I could have felt better so much faster. I could have been able to move forward faster.
So who helped
But
you?
because I had, yeah, well, part of the help was you, Cynthia, because when I went through your program, it
Oh,
does also talk about beliefs
uh-huh.
and shifting perspectives and making, looking at all the different core areas of your life. But it was also when I came across subconscious reprogramming and I was able to start learning about how your subconscious plays a factor in how you see the world and how if you're able to identify some of those beliefs that are running and underneath the surface and start to shift those beliefs, that everything can change. But it took all that time because I was trying to do it on my own
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that time. I was
Mm-hmm.
so focused in on I'm independent, I'm capable, I can totally figure this out, and asking for help makes me weak, which
Mm-hmm.
was another belief that's looking back now is ridiculous. But at the time, that was just ingrained in me. As someone growing up as a Gen X woman, you're taught that you're supposed to be self-sufficient. You're supposed to take care of yourself, step in, do what you got to do, take care of business. And as my dad would always say, and I love my dad, is so amazing, but he would always say, build a bridge and get over it.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell me how to build that bridge. He just said, that's just a common phrase or something would hear. But then when I was able to start identifying some of the beliefs, and that is even just a belief, just build a bridge and get over it. It's just so easy, just do whatever. When I was able to start seeing those beliefs that hold you in a place that is not beneficial to you, and be able to start to shift those things, it changes everything. It changes your perspective. It changes the way you see things. It also helps you think about what beliefs are actually helpful, what beliefs are actually pushing my life forward with purpose and direction, and which ones are holding me back.
Yes.
And so when you start to learn how to identify those and just becoming aware and giving yourself permission to be in the hard, sticky spots where you're dealing with the grief and letting yourself experience the emotions and letting yourself have permission to be sad. I was always like growing up, crying is for babies, and you hear all these things. And it's not that our parents wanted to hinder us in any way, shape, or form. They were just running on their own programming based on what their parents did.
Yes.
And they're doing the best they could with what information they had at the time. So when we would do things like cry or whatever, I know this sounds an awful phrase, and you look back at it now and you're like, okay, that shouldn't have done anything. But when I was little, I would cry, and my parents would say, don't cry, or I give you something to cry about. So that was a phrase you would hear, right? So, and ultimately, looking back as an adult now, I see it as the reason they didn't want me to cry because they did not have the tools to manage that dysregulation. They didn't have the tools to understand that crying is not a bad thing. It's a way for your body to process those emotions. But at the time, their bodies couldn't handle it because they didn't have the coping strategies to handle that. So rather than handle that and try to figure out how to do it, that was their mechanism. They said, don't cry, I'll give you something to cry, because they shut down your emotions. They don't have to deal with theirs. But then when you go further and learn these things about yourself and are able to say, oh, I learned that if I express myself, that can be dangerous. And your brain creates this pattern of protection by saying, okay, she's having an emotion, she better shut that down because it's not safe to have that. But then when you are able to say, hey, wait a minute, is that even true? Is that true that I'm not safe to have an emotion? And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. That really is. It's safe to have that emotion in a certain container, whether that's writing it in a journal or sitting in your car or talking with a safe friend.
Yes. Now, I would just like to ask, because you have children, right?
Yes,
How many?
I had 3.
3. And how old were they during the time you divorced your husband?
Oh my gosh, you have to make me do math. What the heck? No. No, my youngest I think was 10.
Oh, they're still young,
They
really.
were 10, yeah, 10. So I guess it's been 10 years actually. My youngest was 10. My middle one was 14. And then my oldest, 17.
17. So they are still
So
in the teenage years.
yeah, they were all like preteen.
Yes. How were they able to take it? I mean, seeing their father and you having a hard time. I'm sure it was hard for them to see you.
Yeah, I think it was a challenge for sure. Um, the boys kind of dealt with it by kind of shutting down. And then my daughter dealt with it with kind of she would express things here and there. But for the most part, honestly, bless their hearts, I think that they didn't want to burden me with any more concerns. So they kind of handled it on their own. Even though I tried lots of times to talk to them about it and find out where they were. So the best thing that I was able to do with them was anytime that they wanted to talk about it, I was there to listen and not without judgment. Because I'm not judging their feelings. I don't want to judge how they feel about it because they can have whatever feelings they wanted to have about it.
Exactly.
And then just creating space for them to have time with me to do activities they enjoy. Continue to create that connection and a sense of safety for them to express themselves, no matter what that looked like. I mean, so, and that was, I think that was the biggest part that was my priority, I think, at the times for sure. Obviously, I had to work on myself, but I also had to reconnect with my kids because in that 7 years, honestly, I was running so far on my kids like to call it my zombie mode, because I was in fight or flight probably most of the time. So I was not as connected and attentive to them as I wish I had been. But I was attentive enough to at least keep the connection. But because I was dealing with so much emotionally and physically and all the things, I was in this state of shutdown, basically. Survival mode, I guess is the word I was looking for. And so when you're in survival mode, you're really not a present parent as much as you want to be. So when we were finally out of the situation and I was able to get out from under the fog situation, I was able to adjust things that I needed to do to reconnect with the kids.
We are on the same page because we had to make some adjustments in terms of how to interact with our children. We've been raised by the elders. We're in
Yeah.
kind of authoritarian, okay, you do this, do that. But now we have to make some changes in terms of how to engage with our children, make adjustments, at least for them to reconnect with us. It was hard for my children also to open up, but because they care for you as well, they were worried about me. They even offered, Mommy, don't worry giving us allowance. We will look for a job so you could save. I was telling myself, if I did not go through this journey, we will not be the same person as we are right now, right? Plus our children.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I
Uh-huh.
think that sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for
Uh-huh.
the challenging things you go through and then how you navigate those.
Yes.
And then when you're on the other side, you can look back and
Yes.
say, "Ugh, I didn't do horrible. I mean, I thought I was falling apart and I was crumbled in this little pile and I thought I would never get out of it.
You
Then
are
when you are
more a
able to get to the
survivor.
other side and you're like, oh, wow, I guess I was stronger than I thought. In the midst of it, when you're in I guess the fire, you're like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out of this. I think this is the worst thing ever. And then when you're able to look back at it and realize that you did the best you could, honestly, with the information you had at the time. You had to make difficult decisions and hard choices to move forward the best way you knew at the time. Then you get better tools, you get better resources, and you learn new things. You're able to make adjustments. And so I think the biggest takeaway for me was I just needed to give myself grace to understand that I really did just do the best I could in the situation that was challenging and difficult and definitely wasn't the best situation. So, moving forward, my main thing is I just want other women to know that no matter where you're at on your divorce journey, whether you're in the very beginning and you're navigating all the new uncertainties that come with that, and you're in the throes of the grief, really is hope at the end of that. And there's opportunities to learn, be supported and cared for in the midst of it. And for those that are a couple years out and they're starting to learn things to thrive, there's support there to get to the next step of that healing journey too, to get into that state of thriving versus just surviving.
Very good. That's while we're thriving, growing is always a part of our life.
Yeah.
If we don't learn new things, if we don't grow, then we're dead.
If something doesn't grow and change, then it dies. Yeah.
So how do you remain in your power and continue what you do?
I remind myself daily that I'm doing it for more than just myself. I'm doing it for all those women who've been in the same shoes that I was in and that need to feel cared and supported in the midst of their growth.
That's your purpose now. Because of our journey, we were able to discover our purpose and now being a light warrior for others. Yes. I would just like to ask what are your goals now in the next 12 months?
My goal in the next 12 months is to help as many women as I possibly can navigate the challenges of divorce, but most importantly, connect with themselves, reconnect with themselves.
What do you think would be the major blockage of you unable to achieve your goals?
Probably working on some of my own beliefs around being able to support all these amazing women, being able to be available, being able to connect with them. I know I can connect with them. I just know that some of the blocks that we can put in our way are things like be able to find those beautiful women. Where are they and which ones would want to connect with me? And I know that they're out there and they need help and I want to support them.
But hopefully this podcast we will be able to reach out. And
Absolutely.
if there are a lot of listeners out there, if you need assistance, if you need a coach, a divorce coach, we have Debbie here. She had gone through that struggle, and I'm sure she has a lot of tools. And now coming up with a master class, I'm excited about that as well. We have this challenge thing next week, right?
We're going to go live every day,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday next week, and share some insights that we want other people to know.
So stay tuned. This will be on Facebook Live. Before we end, what is one simple advice you'd like to give to our listeners?
I think the thing I would love for them to take away from this is give yourself grace. No matter where you are in the navigation of a challenging time in your life, give yourself the grace to know that it's going to be hard, but you can totally get through this.
That this is wonderful, Debbie. I'm so happy that we were able to decide have you here at this podcast, and I look forward to seeing you and have more engagement with you in our inner circle. For the listeners, if you would like to join us in our Dream to Rise inner circle, you're free to join us. Just connect with me or Debbie. A lovely family which we have created.
Yeah, yes.
Join us now and have some fun.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to have you join us.
Again, thank you so much, Debbie, for this wonderful opportunity of you being our guest. And it's really an honor to have you. And I'm so happy and proud of you, my dear Debbie.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation and spend time with you.
Same here. So for our listeners, till our next episode, have a blessed evening or day. Bye.